Today we have a special guest, and I'm super grateful that he has taken the time to chat with us. He's got a crazy busy schedule, runs an amazing team, so I'm really honored that he's here today. Paul has been a top producing realtor for almost 20 years in Ottawa, from a professional hockey player to going full-time in real estate in 2004. He has achieved a long list of awards and accomplishments, two that really stand out for me, and they're extremely impressive. And I know how hard it is to get there. Is he's sold over 7,000 homes in his life. That is an insane amount of homes. And he has had the #1 team in the world, so not just in Canada or North America, in the world for Keller Williams, who, if you guys don't know, is the largest by agent count brokerage in the world. So he was the #1 team in the world. That is an insane accomplishment. I've known Paul for a few years now. Every time I talk to Paul, I learn a golden nugget. Like, even if it's a 5-second conversation, I learned something from him and I've taken back to our business. So hopefully today, having Paul in this meeting with us, that you guys can take a few things back to your business that's going to help you. So we're super excited to have Paul Rushforth here today. Thank you for coming, Paul. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Now, Paul, I've known you obviously for a few years now, and I have a similar background to you, except I didn't play pro hockey. So from a professional hockey player to a full-time real estate agent, what inspired you to pursue a career in real estate?
Truthfully, my mom was a realtor. So in the summer times, I would come home and I'd just listen to her on the phone and follow her around and watch what she was doing. Keep in mind also, I was a professional hockey player without an education. So I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I got into real estate, and I think I honestly just succeeded out of fear. I just couldn't fail. I had 2 young kids. I was retiring. I had to come back to Canada and to Ottawa and, buy houses and cars and, groceries and furniture. And so it was just, I succeeded out of fear. I asked my mom actually to join. Oh, Mr. Phil Holmes on the call. Look at this.
Hey, Rushy. Good morning, everyone.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
Great. How you doing, buddy?
Good, bud.
Looking good, man.
Oh, thanks, man.
Hey, dude, did we coordinate our wardrobes today? Like, look at our jackets. That's kind of funny.
Seriously. I thought I'd dress up for once. So
there you go. Good to see you, man.
You too, bud. So yeah, so to finish where I was going, Thomas, I actually asked my mom when I was getting into real estate. I said, can I join your team? I want to be a buyer rep, and she said no. And I said, what do you mean no? She says, you're going to make it on your own. You'll be fine. So yeah, I succeeded out of fear, basically. That's about it. And then having good mentors like Mr. Hahn here really helped me along the way.
Amazing. And obviously it's been years since you've been out of production, right? But when you were in production, your first 5 years, you had a family, you had bills to pay, groceries to buy. What did you do your first 5 years to really catapult you from, coming into the industry to becoming a top agent so quick, so fast, right?
Well, my path, I don't know if I'd recommend to everybody. I spent my way to the top, to be honest with you. My first 3 years, I had, full page ads and billboards everywhere and thousands of flyers going out everywhere. I think in my first 2 or 3 years, I think maybe 2 years, I made, $750,000, and I was about $300,000 in debt. So it was a different path for sure, but I just wanted to get there quick. And I just made sure that everything that I did spend, I had a return on it. I made sure that I tracked just about everything. And if it wasn't working, I was cutting it. And if it was working, I was doubling down on it, really. So it was a different path. I mean, people thought I was, rolling in money, and really I was down to my last penny. I remember I was working with a little company called Minto Realty at the time. Minto is the builder, is a massive builder here in Ottawa. They had a sort of like a little realty division as well, where we would sort of sell people who's going in to buy a new home. And I remember at the end of year 2, I had a bill come in, and I didn't even know how I was going to pay it. I wasn't going to ask my parents for money. And that year, Minto had such a great year that they gave everyone I think it was $1,000 or $1,500 or even a $2,000 bonus. And I was like, holy shit, I can pay that bill now. So really at the end of year 2, I was just scrambling to make it. And I just had to keep going. I couldn't take my foot off the pedal. I had a wife who didn't work. I stayed at home with 3 young kids, and I had nothing but I had to win, and I had to out of fear. I couldn't lose it. That was it.
Amazing. And yeah, we've had a few people that had similar stories to you. That same thing. There's only one way to go, and that's to be successful, and whatever it means to get there. And obviously, you're a very successful person from now, right? Now, you spent a lot of money on a lot of advertising. Where did a lot of your business come from your first, few years?
My first few years, I actually followed Phil's steps in wrapping vehicles. So I did a lot of vehicle wraps. After year probably 3, I started a radio show on a really popular talk radio here. I did a lot of radio advertising, and even to this day, I think a good lead source that we have right now. That's probably our not even probably, it is our number 1 lead source, and that is radio. Get a lot of people calling in from the radio, not only from my show, but from some of the advertising we do. And I had billboards and flyers. I did lots of creative different flyers. Yeah, that's probably where most of them came from at the time. I just wanted to get known. I wanted to get my name out there quick. And truthfully, when I shifted over to Keller Williams, when Phil recruited me over to Keller Williams, I was about 1.5 years into the business. And I was a sponge. I went to everything. I went to every conference. I'd go to a conference and I'd come back with thousands of like cassette tapes. That's how old I was. Cassette or VCR tapes or whatever they were. And I'd put them in. I'd watch, so-and-so's listing presentation, so-and-so's buyer presentation, and, objection handling. And that's all I did. That's all I did was just to be a sponge and learn off people. And I didn't care if you were selling, 7 homes or 700 homes. There was something I could learn from you. And I tried to learn it.
Amazing. And do you still do that to this day?
Oh yeah. I'm part of the Tom Ferry coaching program, and I don't usually miss a conference unless there's something major going on. We do a lot of networking and masterminding and stuff like that. And I'm a sponge. I mean, Phil will tell you, I've learned tons from him, and I just, if I have questions, I'm going to ask and I'm going to learn. And the other thing too is speed to implement. I would leave a conference, and before I even got home, it was implemented. Whatever I did, it was implemented right away. And truthfully, I could say probably a lot of my success came from I'm the biggest failure. And I just learned from my failures. And I some people will fail and go one way. I failed and just learned from it and went the other way. So I wasn't scared to fail, put it that way.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely a good one, and learning lots from conferences. That's a good point you had. Speed to implement, right? A lot of people leave conferences and they have I have a book of notes, but how much was that actually implemented when you got back? You put it off and you get busy again. You try and catch up. So I really like that line, and I'm going to steal it. Now, I do listen to a ton of your radio shows. That was one of my questions I wanted to ask you, because I'm always learning from you. And one thing I like about your radio shows is you educate your audience on where the market actually is and not what the news says, right? So how do you do that? Like, how do you stay up to date with where the latest real estate trends and the changes in the market? How do you portray that to your audience of listeners?
Well, keep in mind, I'm at a bit of a disadvantage too, right? Because I'm not out there trading anymore. So I'm not, sort of seeing what's going on with my eyes, but I'm studying every day. I'm picking the brains of people, just asking where they think we're going. I'm making sure I'm studying everything. And truthfully, whatever the news, I don't even listen to the news because it's usually gossip and garbage anyways. But no, I just make sure I'm implementing it. I make sure I'm tracking everything. I'm constantly online looking for what's going on, and not just in real estate, and in finance and trends and anything. You just have to stay on top of that. And yeah, on the radio, that's my job, is to just educate and make sure I know what's going on. And it's probably saved me a lot, to be honest with you, because I'm not in the market as much. I'm at a big disadvantage, but having to be on the radio every Saturday, I have to know what's going on, or I look stupid, right?
Yep, I 100% agree. Now, your team, you have a pretty big team now. I think you have 30 agents. Is that right?
No, I just picked up 4 new ones because I just amalgamated with a big player here in Ottawa, and I basically bought her business. So I'm up to 17 agents.
Okay.
I have 5 inside sales agents, and then a decent sized admin team.
Amazing. And how do you motivate your agents and your team to keep pushing forward and sell more and more homes despite what's going on in the world with recessions, interest rates, economy, et cetera?
It's the hardest thing. People is the hardest thing to do. Like it's probably the not only the hardest, but probably the worst thing I do. Is I wish I was out there dealing with sellers, buyers again. Having to manage people is really tough. But you have to keep them motivated, and keep in mind, I'm not out there selling, so I'm not getting any 100% dollars right now. So I need to keep them motivated to feed me too, right? Yeah. So I'm always, we do a lot of training. We have our Tuesday meetings. We do, we'll do now we do, a Zoom almost every Tuesday, and once a month we'll do an in-person meeting. But we do a lot of training after the meetings as well. And I'm constantly sending them out stuff. Like if I come across articles or I'm doing studying on something, I'll always keep my team educated and engaged and, and learning, because I want them, super educated on what's going on in the market. So they're sounding smart, because there's too many agents out there that just don't know what's going on. And if someone's going to pay you 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 in commission, you better be the expert out there and you better know what's going on.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I really like that you keep your team involved. Same thing, when you come across a good video or article, share it, right? There's no point of keeping it to yourself. Brand is one big thing. I want to ask you this question, because I know you've built an amazing brand, well known. Like I talk to agents, across North America, and I mention your name and they know who you are, right? So how did you differentiate your brand and team from others? I mean, Ottawa is a very, very competitive market. How did you make your brand stand out?
I copied Phil. I copied Phil, to be honest with you. Like when I first started at Keller Williams, Phil recruited me there, and he was my mentor. And one of the things I noticed about him, it was Phil Hahn, the Hahn team, Keller Williams, really low down in the corner. And where everyone else was having the big Keller Williams and their little name, Phil did it the other way. Even though we ruffled a lot of feathers, as I did, but that was the way we were going to get our brand out there, was make sure our name was on steroids, and the company was down there. And in fact, in 2011, when I opened up my own company, I would actually ask people, I said, did you notice any difference from where I am now towards my last company? And they're like, what was your last company? I was like, oh, I was with Keller Williams. Like, oh, I thought you were with your own shop already. I was like, no, it's because you never saw the Keller Williams. You saw my name everywhere. So brand was important. And everything I did, my clothes are all logoed up, my cars are all logoed up, my moving trucks are logoed up. Everything I have has logos on it. Full brand everywhere. And I made sure I did different things. When every realtor is going this way, go this way, right? So like, everyone's starting to be on TV here in Ottawa. Well, I'm off TV now. Nobody's sending out flyers anymore, because it's sort of the old school way. Well, guess what? I'm sending out flyers now, because no one else is doing it. Mm-hmm. I made sure that I was I have commercials in the movie theaters. I have, radio. I'm blasted everywhere on the radio. And one of the things I did early on was I developed the guaranteed sale program, and I ran with it. And actually, one of the reasons, I'll tell a funny story. One of the reasons I did do that is because I was doing your home sold in 90 days, or I sell it for free. And Phil called me a pussy and said, do the home guarantee. So I did the home guarantee. When I say speed to implement, that was speed to implement. I think I had it the next day. I was, So the one thing now is my guarantee is on everything. And I'm kind of known in Ottawa as the guy who guarantees homes. So that program really put me on the map, which was awesome as well.
What am I talking a bit about that? Because, I've seen you talk at Tom Ferry. You mentioned the program, how it works there. I've called you. I mean, the minute I watched your video on that, I called you. I'm like, Paul, what is this home guarantee? Can you elaborate more on what's this guarantee? What does it mean? What is it?
Well, first of all, people think it's super risky, and they think I'm Rockefeller and I'm buying everybody's home. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. So I've been advertising probably the guarantee for probably 15 years. And I run with different headings, like, your home sold, or I'll buy it, cash offer on your home in 24 hours, all these different headlines that get people to call. So the phone definitely rings. So I've been doing it for 15 years, and I've probably guaranteed maybe, I would say 80% of people call about the guarantee, and probably about, I don't know, I might write up about 40 guarantees a year, maybe 40 guarantees a year. I've bought 5 homes. 4 of them I wanted to buy, and I did it on purpose to buy them. 1, I wanted a testimonial, and 2, I wanted the property. And there's nothing more powerful than a testimonial from someone who says this guarantee is, not a farce. It's real. Paul stepped up and bought my home. So it was a powerful testimonial. And the only one that I bought that I didn't want to buy, I got cocky. I didn't even look at it. I trusted my agent's opinion. He way overpriced it. And by the time I went to look at it, it was too late. So I ended up buying that home. And to be honest with you, I renovated and broke even on it. So it wasn't anything bad. How it basically works is, depending on the market, it's your program. So depending on the market, if you're in a super hot market, different story. If you're in a cold market, also you make the parameters around that. So I give them a percentage of market value minus the commission. Okay, so here our standard commission is 5%, but it's really the pressure's downward on commission big time. My guarantee is a minimum of 6%. So I'll do either 6 or 6.5. I've done as high as 7% on the commission. And what I give you as a percentage of the market value, it all depends on what I'm looking at. If I'm looking at a simple townhome that's going to sell pretty quickly, I might give them 95% of market value. If I'm out in the country and it's a bit of a dog and it's a struggle to sell, I might give them 92% of market value. It's your program. If I go out there and I say, oh, geez, I don't want to guarantee this house, I'll say it's 90% of market value. And usually they say, oh, I'm not looking at that. I'm like, perfect. I'll list your house normally then. So I give them that contract up front. I take 120 days to sell it. Price reductions are built in every single month, but they can never go below that guaranteed number. And after 120 days, if it's not sold with all those price reductions, I have to buy it. But most times it's gone after the first price reduction, most times. So, and I'm getting extra commission on it, right?
Yeah. So basically 90%, you'd be 90% less your 6% commission. So you're really buying at 84% of market value. And, if it doesn't sell at 84% of market value, then you buy it, but you're still buying at an 84% discount. So as long as your market value is fairly accurate, it's a win-win for you. But the most important part about that is it makes your phone ring, right?
Makes the phone ring for sure. I would think that, most people call in for the guarantee. And then by the time my agent's sitting at the table with them, they don't even talk about the guarantee. We just list the home.
Amazing. So do something that makes your phone ring. That's a big thing. And obviously that you've mastered, and people have tried to copy you all over the world on that. I see, 4 or 5 different agents trying to do it in Victoria, but unsuccessfully doing it. Now, 17 agents, big admin team, lots of homes. I wanted to talk systems for a bit. What systems, obviously you've built a ton over the years, do you have in place to ensure that you're still able to provide the best service to your clients every single day?
Well, what, I'm pretty lucky that I have my operations manager, Jocelyn, who Phil knows well. She's been with me since 6 months into the business. She's been with me. So she basically runs the show. And then Angie, who's my office manager, basically runs the agents, technology, things like that. So what I've done is I've surrounded myself with the right people. And I'm not a techie guy. I'm not good at any of that stuff. They run everything. Contact management system is we're using Follow Up Boss. Jocelyn's huge on advertising and marketing and social media. And, we're now getting into videos because this little company called Google says that's where everyone's going. So it's the systems we use. I mean, I can't take credit for just about any of it. It's all been Jocelyn and Angie really run the show. What system specifically are you looking for information on?
Let's talk lead follow-up, Paul, because that's a big one. That's where I think a lot of agents do drop the ball. So I want to talk lead follow-up, and then I want to talk after that past clients. What does your past client program look like? So, I know you have a couple inside sales agents that work directly for you. What does your lead follow-up system look like?
Well, so that is if there's one thing you take from this should be it. You need an ISA. It's the most important position. That lead follow-up position is so important because agents get busy. We're sitting in homes, trying to list them. Then we're going over to work with buyers. Then by the time you get back to the lead, the average agent gets back to that lead in 6 to 7 hours. My inside sales team are on the phones from 9 in the morning till 9 at night in shift work. And on the weekends on 9 to 5. So that second that lead comes in, they're on the phone. We've already captured that lead in the first 5 minutes. And if it takes longer than 5 minutes, it's a fail. And then we've implemented lots of action plans around those leads with what happens if it goes here, how many times are we communicating, once we get in front of them and the outside sales agent books them to something, what happens to the ISA? Does he drop off? Does he continue? So what we do is we just have all those systems in place where no lead falls through the cracks. On day 1, the ISA makes the call. He doesn't get him. Day 2, he's calling again. If we do get him and we book and he doesn't book an appointment, there's just a follow-up system that happens that he just continues to follow up with them. And everything's through our contact management system. And Jocelyn can go in there and see if any lead is falling through the cracks, to see if we've missed calls. And that's probably one of the biggest is accountability. She'll go in there, and if an ISA hasn't called for 5, 6, 7 days and they're supposed to call after day 2, she's all over them. Why hasn't this person been called? Call right away. So having someone who's accountable to that is very, very important. Usually the ISAs are having 5 of them. They're a competitive group, and I kind of like to play them against each other a little bit, having some friendly competition. But no, that's probably one of the most important positions. That was my last position before I got out of production. I gave up all my buyers to buyer reps probably at, I don't know, maybe 2 years in, a year and a half in. And then I actually hired Phil's old listing coordinator, or not listing coordinator, sorry, listing girl, Dominique, and she came over to my team, and she followed me and trained with me for probably 6 to 8 months before I even let her talk to a client. So she got to the point where she was as good as me, and then eventually she became better than me.
Yeah.
It allowed me to take my foot off the gas for listings, and I was listing 3 homes a night. And then it went to 2 homes a night, and then it was like 1 home a night. And I was like, geez, like maybe 1 home a week. Then it was like, 1 home a month. And then eventually I'm like, she's so friggin' good, I'll just let her run with the ball. And then I brought on another listing person. And then I realized that I had buyer's agents and I had listings agents. And it was not a good mix in the way that clients wanted to deal with one person. So then I got everyone together and trained them all on both listings and buyers, and they could take the client right through the process from listing and from buying. One thing that I do very well though is training. I don't let an agent go unless they're unbelievable. When you join my team, if you're a brand new agent, your training process is probably 2 months if you get it quick enough. If you're an experienced veteran agent, I like to knock the old cobwebs out of you and teach you properly. So you'll probably be about 3 weeks to a month if you're a veteran agent as well in the training process. And what we do is we have it down to a science where I have Angie train them on most of the techie stuff, the programs we use, e-signature, contact management system, database management, all that stuff. Angie does all that. Get them to sit with the listing coordinator to see what she does in a day and what she has to go through. And she'll train them, like she'll teach them what to do there. They go to the closing coordinator. She does the same. They sit with the inside sales agents and learn scripting. And then through COVID, with when showings you weren't allowed to have too many people going into houses. So I started training them myself, my new agents on showings. So I'd get them to show my place, teach them how to show a house properly, get them to list my places, and teach them how to do that properly. Training is everything, and I always say to the agents when they join, I'm like, give me 2 months and I'll train you to make you look like you're a veteran. And, you'll probably sell a home in your first, week if you do the right thing training wise. So, and most of my agents I don't think I've ever had a new agent who hasn't made 6 figures here, just because we've trained them properly. So that's a huge one. I say to position and training, I say one of the biggest faults that people do when they try to, when they're trying to start a team is they don't spend enough time training their people, which is a huge mistake, because if you train them properly, you never have to touch them again. So even for my inside sales agents, I trained my first inside sales agent myself, and then he got so good that the next one that came on, he trained them. Another one came on, they trained them. So I didn't have to train the ISAs ever again. And the training process, before COVID, when I wasn't as involved, is the only thing they had to do is they had to be able to pass the listing presentation by me. And in order to, once Angie told me that, they're ready to go, I'd say, okay, do the listing. We'll do the listing presentation, and we'll do the scripting and objection handling and role playing and things like that. If you pass it by me, then you get the green light. Most of the times they don't. They take a few tries, but once they do, they're ready to go. And they're all selling lots of homes because they are trained properly. And that's probably a big takeaway you guys can take from that, is training is everything.
Sure. And you mentioned one thing, scripting and role playing. How often does your team still role play and do practice your presentations?
Not as, to be honest with you, I'll be very honest with you. The ISAs get together and do like a bi-weekly role play session. The agents, not really anymore. And COVID we've kind of lost our swagger in the way of training since COVID. I mean, we still have people who are pretend they don't need to come to the office anymore, and try to get people together for team meetings now. As you always get some people that say, well, I'm not comfortable, and it's ridiculous. But we try to get together as much as possible, and we're just getting back into the rhythm now of in-person meetings every once a month, and we'll probably do them bi-weekly going forward, and then we'll do the training. It's really hard. I find it's really hard to train over Zoom. I feel like when you're training over Zoom, I feel like I'm talking into a screen and no one's really coming along with me. It's tough. It's better to do in person for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, one of the other systems I wanted to talk about, because I know you've, over 7,000 homes sold, you probably have at least 5,000 past clients. Do you guys have a really good past client follow-up program?
You know what? I'm going to say we're average at that.
Okay.
We do about 30. What were we last year? 37 or 39% repeat and referral, which is not bad for someone. We're actually over 8,000 homes now, so it's not bad for 8,000 homes. And let's say just under 40% are repeat and referral. I'd like to say that I think we do some just by accident, if you want the honest truth. And some we do through what we do. But I don't think too many of my agents are picking up the phone to call them, which is a problem. But we do a lot from the company standpoint. So we have, they'll get emails on birthdays. We do client events that they get invited to. We do a client once a month newsletter. Anything that pops up that's really interesting that Jocelyn wants to share with the clients, we're sending out emails. We probably touch them, I would say probably about 15 to 20 times a year with something touching them. As for the phone calls to follow up with them, we're very weak at that, but we're just really good at staying in touch with them.
For sure. And do you think that's kind of an area for improvement for your company as a phone call follow-up?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, it's my top agent, Kevin Janik. Has been with me 12 years. He's sold over 1,000 homes now. So he's a really, really good agent, and he follows the system to a T. He loves what we do. He has no visions of going on his own because of that. He's making a bucket load of money. But the one thing that he said one time in a meeting, and I think it got stuck in everybody's ear, was he's like, it's not my job to follow up with my past clients because they're actually company clients. They're Paul Rushforth real estate clients. I think it's the company's job to do that. And everyone heard that and they're like, yeah, that's right. It is the company's job. So no, I would say probably, 30 to 40% of my realtors do touch base with their past clients consistently. And I think lots that don't touch base with the past clients and rely on us to do it. So we do it, but we just do it through sort of like an email type of form rather than phone calls.
Absolutely. Got a few minutes left and we'll be, right on time today. If you could give some advice to a younger agent, or basically if you could go back to a young Paul, what advice would be in today's marketplace? I mean, things have changed since 2004 drastically. If you could go all over again, start as a young agent, what advice would you give to yourself?
Training. It's one thing I did very, very well, and I would give it advice to anyone. Be a sponge, go to training events, learn from people, watch what people are doing, make sure you know the market inside and out. And how it was probably my second year in real estate. I remember I joined Craig Proctor coaching, and one of the things that I actually said to him at the time, I was like, I'm already selling. I'm 2 years in the business. I'm already selling 178 homes, I think it was at the time, a year. Do I even need coaching? And the one thing he said, he goes, you need coaching more than anybody, right? Because I was probably doing things wrong, and I just was a sponge, and I learned from them. So training is absolutely everything. Making sure that you're super knowledgeable on the market and what's going on. The DISC test is another big one. Make sure you know the DISC test. And for those who don't know what that is, that's the DISC. It's a personality profiling DISC test. And and this is how I train my agents. My ISAs can pick up the phone and know what type of DISC somebody is. So we know what type of agent to put in front of that person. Also on presentations, if I go out and I'm doing a listing presentation and I'm doing it the same way to every person, I'm losing people. You have to tailor your presentation style to what type of DISC somebody is. So if you do not know what DISC is, the DISC personality profiling, make sure you look that up. It's gold, because I call myself a chameleon. I could walk into a room with an 83-year-old grandmother and make sure I'm coddling her and make sure I'm really comfortable, or I'm in the room with the president of a company and I'm just like a hard D like that. So you have to know how to present. So that would be one. Make sure you master the DISCs. Make sure you master presentations. That is key right there. So DISC profiling, mastering presentations, training like a motherfucker, excuse the term, but make sure you do all that. Would probably be the three top things I would say. And get your name out there, get your brand out there. I don't care how you do it, but you have to be known. Being known is everything, because reputation is everything. So that would probably be the four things I'd tell to a young agent. And the other one too is open houses. you know, if you drop me in, you know, anywhere USA and I had to start over, I'd probably do it through open houses. I know they're not super popular anymore, but it's just a great way. And the beauty of open houses is everybody thinks that you're doing the open house to pick up buyers. It's actually the opposite. You're doing the open house to pick up sellers, because you want someone to go through that open house and say, wow, that agent was really good. Look what he did for his seller. When I go to hire an agent, I'm going to remember this guy or this girl. So doing the open houses for sellers to pick up sellers was a big bonus for me as well. So I would say that would be the biggest tips I'd give to a new agent right now.
Amazing. All really, really, really good tips. And I got one last question for you. And guys, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat. Can you share what the group, you know, any really good books or any really good role models that you follow that helped you kind of get to where you are today?
Well, you guys have one in your backyard. I'm assuming you guys are all from out in the West Coast, right? You have one in your backyard. Phil Hahn is a genius. You know, like he taught me a lot about real estate, about, you know, having big balls and going after things and implementing fast and doing things that other people weren't doing. I learned a lot of that from Phil. So you have one in your backyard right there. Darren Hardy, I used to be part of a Darren Hardy mastermind. If you guys don't know Darren Hardy, he used to be the publisher of Success Magazine, and he's a great resource. DarrenDaily.com, so DARREN Daily, DAILY.com. It's a max 4-minute video that Darren puts out every day. It's free, but I would follow that. Just subscribe to that. Darren Daily, and the other one is my coach right now is Tom Ferry, who's the #1 coach in North America, who's phenomenal. The coaching program is just incredible. So I'm pretty lucky to be coached by Tom Ferry himself. So you should check that out. And then I read a lot. You know, like I was early in my days, I'd study any real estate guru that I could think of. You know, Darren Hardy was probably the one I followed the most when it came to reading and that. And Keller Williams, when I was with Keller Williams, had some great resources from lots of great agents out there that I'd always be a sponge. And and anything I could learn from another agent, whether it's, you know, someone who's mastering a listing presentation, I want to see that presentation. Anyone who's mastering, you know, role playing, I want to see that and read that. So I would just be a sponge. I definitely follow all three of those people I just mentioned, and I would be talking to Phil Hahn too. He's pretty smart out there.
Absolutely. I really appreciate your time, Paul. And Paul, so for referrals, guys, I've sent a few clients to Paul's team. Amazing job. Services Ottawa. What towns around Ottawa do you service, Paul?
We service it all. We service all around Ottawa. So yeah, it's just Paul at paulrushforth.com. And the website's paulrushforth.com. But yeah, you guys have anything for Ottawa, I'd be happy to take care of it for you.
Amazing. I really appreciate your time today, Paul. Thank you so much. Guys, you know, Paul's an amazing agent. Like I said, send him some referrals if you have anyone that's moving that way. And Paul will touch base soon. I really appreciate you coming on today.
My pleasure. Does anyone have any questions? Nope.
Perfect, guys. Everyone have a great week. We'll chat next Monday. And Paul, thank you so much. And I'm sure
I do have one question.
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Tom DeCostin. Just joined EXP about 8 months ago. Just curious, how's the market in Ottawa right now?
The markets, we're starting to turn around. I mean, we, just like you guys, you know, through COVID, it was insane. And then we had, you know, Q4 last year and the start of this year has been pretty bad. But we're now seeing, I mean, our numbers are up in March over Feb and Jan, which is great news. So we're starting to trend upwards now. I mean, obviously the interest rates are starting to stabilize now, which is good news. So I think there's a lot of optimism in Ottawa right now.
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Any more questions for Paul? Nope. Perfect.
Thanks for having me on, Thomas. It was fun.
Thanys, Paul. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.